management meeting. A quick bit of bookkeeping. We have some new faces as we are preparing for the summer cohort to start in full next week. We have our new project manager, who is not new and doesn't need much of an introduction, except for maybe two of the folks on the call. So why don't we actually just really quickly have everyone, and that's Aubrey, obviously. Let's really quickly just go around and have people introduce themselves so that everyone can get a quick feel of who's here. And I know we just did this before the recording. So actually, maybe we don't need to do it. Who did not get a chance to introduce themselves?
Right.
I was late, but yeah. I'm Bryce. I am a fellow at Suffolk. I started in December. I primarily do software stuff, don't have a legal background, and am writing the code that will eventually directly file all of the forms with courts through EFSPs. That's it.
And Quentin, do you get a chance to chime in and say hi?
I guess I didn't really properly introduce myself other than saying my name. I am a attorney a fellow at Suffolk. I'm also the technical lead on the coding side of the
Cool. And then Regis and Aubrey, did you get a chance to say more than just you knew? My on the air sign isn't really working on this side. I'm sorry.
We did intros, but I can do it for the recording if you'd like.
No, it doesn't have to be on the, as long as you feel like you've gotten your point across. I think Bryce popped on and he knows at least. Although Bryce, did you pop on before Regis introduced himself or not?
No, I hopped on after.
Okay, so Regis, why don't you do a quick reintroduction, because Bryce was on the call with Aubrey earlier. So
yeah, I'll take a second stab at it. My first intro was choppy at best. My name is Regis. I am a rising 2L at Suffolk Law. I am the other student employee. And I'm going to end before I start butchering it again, but it's very nice to meet everyone.
All right, cool. Well, so we decided last week that we compress our Tactical Tuesday meeting and our stand-up meeting into one, because we kept finding ourselves ending before the next one and having to wait until the next one to start and ending and having to wait. So we may find that this rolls a little into Teaching Tuesday, but we'll adjust and such going forward. So why don't we just really quickly, so we make sure, let's really quickly just do, let's invert this. Let's really quickly do stand up, just a quick check-in without getting into things that are sort of far afield. And then we'll loop back and then talk about the big thing that's on our agenda, which is next week and the new cohort. So we'll just start with the order that I see. So Michelle, quick stand-up evenings.
I'm pretty much good, I think, actually. Just doing the issues for the latest sprint and such. I might have forgotten something. Okay.
It's okay. We're you know where we live. Well, digitally at least. Caroline.
I'm kind of where I was last time with 209A, but I think I hit some bugs that I have to iron out, but I haven't looked at anything for 10 days. So I'm getting back into it this afternoon.
Getting back into the swing. Sounds good. Aubrey, I'm going to save you to the last because you're going to butt up right against our planning for the week. Regis. So just what you're up against, what you're up to, and just so you know, Regis is working some stuff that's not necessarily assembly line, but we're still going to let him share here. So yeah, at least for this week.
Right now, I am working on using word to vector processes for jury instructions, so then we can run similarities between specific jury instructions and jury instructions in other jurisdictions. I'm doing a lot of relearning and general learning because this is all very new and fun.
Yeah, that's a project that we're working on with some folks from publicresource.org and the Internet Archive on jury instructions that they're scanning and putting up on the archive now. Cool. Lisa,
Okay, now I don't sound like I'm in a wind tunnel, I don't think. So,
No, you don't. That was my
Oh,
mistake.
good.
It wasn't you.
well, a big shout out to Michelle for getting me going. It took us a little doing to get me going with the server and everything. So it's kind of like back to the future. I'm rolling back to boot camp and I worked through the Hello World exercise and I'm progressing from there. And we talked a little bit about this before everyone got on board, but I'm just moving forward now that I've had this, at least for now, a little window of time to start digging in. So I may be tapping into all of you. In fact, I don't know if people are still using that channel, but I just shot out a little message while I was working last week or the other day on something. So, but if it's easier to just message people through Teams, through the chat, I can do that too. If I have a quick question, whatever you all think.
I'm sorry, which channel were you using that you weren't sure if people
I
were
was
studying?
Was it in the coding help channel?
Coding help.
Yeah,
I was
I
using
actually,
coding help.
yeah, I was gonna say, actually, I replied to that yesterday. I don't know if you've seen it. Teams is really bad about like forwarding notifications and stuff. I guess more of it's, yeah, but like, it's generally nicer, I guess to answer your question, it's generally nicer to have like these answers. So if other people want to search, they can publicly see that you've asked this question before too. But yeah, just because Teams has horrible notification defaults, and I don't know if anyone really understands them, like most people won't, so like some people won't see. So I guess the better of two ways is if you have like a question and you like really want an answer, feel free to tag anyone who you think might know. I'm okay with being tagged. I'm sure David or Quentin or maybe Michelle would also be okay with being tagged as well. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so use
Okay,
Teams,
so
but
I won't use
feel
the
free to
general
tag.
coding help. Oh, I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt.
you can use
Okay.
the general coding help. Just if you want to know that someone's definitely going to see it right away, you can tag them in your comments. So do like an @ and then the person's name.
Oh,
and it'll
okay,
make sure
got
they see
it. Got it. Thank you.
It's just a question of like the defaults for like notifying. So like I only see Teams things that change on Teams only get like alerted to me if they're directly, if I'm added or if it's part of a direct message chain. Otherwise, I have to go in and see which ones have unread things. And so
Yeah.
that's probably the default for most people. So it's just if you really want to.
So
you
you're
can wait
not
a little while,
bombarded all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you can wait a little while, then you can wait a little while. But that's just the
I just wanted to know what the protocol was because I didn't want to be spamming everyone unnecessarily.
No worry about that. You put the questions there and they will, if people are unavailable, they're unavailable. But it's a good place to have everything in one place. So yeah, the general rule is everything goes in Teams as the first blush, first pass. We can then arrange like a video call or something or a private message afterwards, whatever. And also, Lisa, you should know we're going to talk about this here in a little bit, the new cohort starting next week, and they're going to be going through an onboarding as well. So you're free to jump in for as much of that as you are up to jumping in for.
Great, thank you.
All right. Of course. Quentin.
All right. Oh, I'm going to stand still and hopefully avoid the wind a little bit. Couple things. One is, just based on our conversation yesterday with Aleo, pushed a new version of the about page rather, that doesn't have any branding. So that will be an outstanding PR, and once that gets reviewed and merged, then we should let Aleo and Lark, New Hampshire, know about that. I just talking with Caroline reminded me a little behind on some of the 209A stuff, migrating that to AL document. So Caroline, how are we on the timeline for that? Does that feel?
I think we want to be able to give it to the translators before June 15th.
June 15th.
Because,
okay. So I think this migration does not really affect whether we can send it to translators. So we may not want to wait for it, but I'll probably be able to resume that next week after the sprint that we're in.
Yeah, I think we want, because, and we could probably push it, but I think the point is that we need an invoice from them by June 30th. That's the thing that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that sounds about right then, though, for getting it to June by June 15th. So,
yeah, I think they say 12 business days for translating. That's what they'd like. I mean, ideally.
Just based on how it's gone, I feel like it's probably like another week away when I'm able to work on it for a whole uninterrupted week. So
Great, because I've sort of taken the last 10 days off from Colorado and stuff, so that'll be good.
Yeah, no problem though. And the last thing that I just want to say is I think that the 209A, not the 209A, the petition to enforce the sanitary code, it relates to another project that I'm working on, and so I've just taken a pass at making some small refinements, but I also, after looking at it, think it's ready to go. So that's another form we should be able to push live. There's not really a lot to test in it. It's very straightforward.
That you were talking a little bit about incorporating the various housing interviews into one. Would that be?
That's not all of the housing interviews, but the conditions interviews. So help engage me to help do a project around that. So
Help did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Help did, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one piece of it that I just adjusted it so that it's easy to incorporate into a bigger thing. But I think the standalone version is okay as is. It basically just says you need to attach the list of conditions or the sanitary code that this report. And that's a piece that I think meets MVP. And
So
I'll be
should I
incorporating.
should I link to it on Google Help now, or are you thinking a few days? What are you saying?
It needs to go up on the Court Forms Online site too. But then I think at that point, yeah, in a couple of days it should be ready to go.
So will you send me some kind of like something specific so I know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess this is just to raise the idea with David too. So I think it is ready to go otherwise.
All right. So that's the petition.
I'll try to add it to the spreadsheet, I guess, at some point today,
Yeah.
or maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
I'm looking at a thing that Aubrey put together, and so this is relevant to that, so we can change its status there as needed. Like maybe it was throwing an error, so I don't know if Aubrey had some special knowledge there. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. All right, cool. Anything else?
I don't think so, except I guess just, yeah, we've been working on the sprint. We pushed it a week, but I think we're ready to close it by Monday. So there'll be a new version of the assembly line. Bryce has been working on a new way to notify and to tag our releases, which will be helpful for people who want to update to the latest version of the code and know when there are any releases and know what the features are that they have. So I think we might do one more sprint towards the end of the summer, but it'll be like the big feature push. And nothing too dramatic. We have the footer that everyone got to see demoed on one of our previous calls. That's probably the biggest visual feature people will notice. And there's some nice improvements to the Weaver too. Should be ready by Monday.
Cool. You do know Monday's a holiday, right?
Oh, well, we won't literally talk about it on Monday. Good point. I guess we'll probably do our review on Wednesday then. I said it's a holiday. So we'll probably review it on Wednesday and decide if it's ready.
All right, cool. Anything else?
No,
the muting as no. Yeah, okay, great. Bryce.
Yeah, so not a ton, sorry.
Looks like your dog has something to say.
Yes, he would like to add. So sorry. Mostly coding, doing some EFSP stuff. I will be contacting the Jefferson Parish folks at the court there with essentially like this is what we have for Tyler. Like here's what we could probably cut it down that would still be useful for you. Does that work? And get to, and I'll probably just try and schedule a call since that would be a lot easier. And then also just doing some Weaver stuff, trying to figure out what people need to see when they're setting up PDF stuff. That's it.
All right. Cool. Well then, this brings up our discussion of next week and cues up Aubrey here for some context. I've gone through and run the final numbers. We have 12 folks coming on for the summer cohort, 4 of whom have previous experience with the assembly line. Most of those are pro bono Suffolk law students, but 2 of them are Galway students from Ireland, similar to our students from last year. So that sort of gives you an idea. So we've got about 8 folks who are sort of new entirely to the assembly line. And Quentin, we're getting a lot of wind noise there. Thank you. So that's that. So Aubrey and I have been talking about what next week might look like. What we did is we sort of roughed out a general idea of what it would look like. I wanted to bring that to you and then get feedback one way or another. We were, in general speaking, we were thinking about sort of setting up a synchronous time for a touch point every day, centered around midday. So it would overlap the normal times on Tuesday and Friday, but would be focused on bringing the new folks on board. And so what we wanted to do was just sort of give something to respond to, and then come back for. The general shape is that since we have the 4 folks who have previous experience, we would like them maybe to pick up some of the existing projects and work with those. We have the 8 new folks. We think we could put those into teams of 2. And then if we could come up with 4 new forms or very early forms for people to jump on, that might be useful. We will know as of tomorrow whether or not we're going to have 2 new appeals court forms. My guess is probably not, just because of the timing. But that being said, the question is, are there like 4 new forms we could start off to put people through? And then we also want to talk about sort of what we've been calling sort of the grab bag of things to do, which are things like looking at the court addresses, etc. And then the other important thing to know is that of those 12 people, not all of them have the same time commitments. So a small subset are people who are actually like about 4 people who are actually going to be sort of effectively like full-time, 2 of them who are Aubrey and Regis. And then a set of people who are doing for credit, which are the Galway and then 1 Suffolk student who will be at a slightly lower amount of time. And then everyone else who is doing pro bono who will probably be at an even lower time. The floor we have for any one commitment is that they're doing at least 7 hours a week commitment. So it goes from everything from like 7 hours to like 35 hours. And so that's also part of the assignment out to people, is like, what's the common thing across them all. But that's the general shape. So Aubrey, I'll let you talk about what you did with sort of a form audit and our thoughts from where we wanted things to go, and then people can respond, and Aubrey and I will get very busy and do lots of things.
Okay. All right. So I think that maybe we'll start with the form audit, because it'll help us see how we're going to shape the week, and it might change things a little bit. So I'll share my screen. I went through the existing Trello cards, and this is in the team admin file if this is hard for you to see. I know the colors are not ideal, but I just went through all the Trellos, pulled in all the packages, and ran through them really fast to see what kind of condition they are in, and tried to see what is almost done, can be for testing, what's in the earlier stages. So I wanted to go through quickly because you might have further knowledge than what a run through does. We might need and try to pick some stuff to prioritize things. Say, let's work on this one. This was student work. We're going to leave it as is, etc. So we'll just go.
We do know we can update the one Quentin was talking about.
Yes. Which one was that? The sanitary code. I do have the error up, and it might just be with something that Bryce helped me with all of them yesterday, just that things have changed, and I don't know if they're not changed in dev. was an issue that I had yesterday.
Yeah, that was an issue with essentially the latest push we had made of there had been like some refactors in the Weaver that, and for like just legacy reasons, all of the interviews depended on the Weaver, which just isn't really a good thing. And so we had been trying to fix that, and I think we had updated the Weaver, but we hadn't updated like the MA virtual court repo that had been dependent on the Weaver.
Okay.
Just because we hadn't been like actively testing that at all. And so that should be good now, but
yes, it fixed
maybe not this specific.
Well, so
this is
it
a
just-
different, but yeah.
This is a different error, so we can go back to it, but that was resolved for all of them yesterday. It was like almost all the interviews that I was looking at. This could have just been I pulled in the wrong branch, but this is the error that I do get on the sanitary code one. So we'll come back to it when I get to it on the list. But so
yeah, I'm not seeing the error because I'm on the phone, but I do know that it should be working, but it's possible that there's just a difference between the branch that you're looking at.
It's a none type concatenation with string error, but it's just so you know. I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the error.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what that is. It's with a static file, which I know I resolved. So it's either sitting in my playground or in a branch that's not merged.
okay, great. So
yeah,
cool.
So I have already updated it on here, I think. So I'll make that assumption. So BHA authorization to release information. It seemed like it was good. It was in, I think that needs testing. I'm pretty sure this was a student project. I have no idea.
Yes, that was a student project. Yeah.
And
Caroline worked a lot helping people with Caroline, I could see her nodding her head. She helped folks with that.
great. So I don't know, is it one we want tested? It's going to eventually go up on the site, or is it one that just kind of was built? And
I think all the ones that were built. Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
This is BHA. Is that Boston Housing Authority? That's not DTA. Right. So the DTA was the one that I was working on, not the BHA.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's a different one or.
Those would be different. I mean, I'm assuming BHA is Boston Housing Authority. So
it definitely is. No, I'm familiar with this.
Yeah.
I think this is
I'll work on this form.
This was a coding the law project. Oh, sorry, Quentin.
Oh no, that's good.
I didn't hear
Yeah.
you say.
Yeah, that was. I think that was one of my.
You should go ahead and describe it because I think I probably have too much noise here. So that's all I was going to say.
I know that this was a coding the law one, so I didn't know if this was for. I couldn't remember if this was for a private entity or it was intended to be part of the website.
This one I think we sort of did as a more so folks could have something to work on. If we like it though, and if we think it's appropriate, we could move it forward. I guess just to sort of structure the conversation and direct it a little more. I think the thing we want to think about here is we want to come up with some buckets to put these forms in. Next week, we're going to want to maybe have some people do some testing at some point. We're going to want some experienced people to have something they can dive into and maybe help move stuff across the line. And then we're going to want to have things that are maybe like at the very early stage that could be, almost like maybe rerun it through the Weaver or, just start from like after having gotten it from the Weaver. So if we sort of think about those sort of like three main buckets, I think for our purposes here, just so that this conversation doesn't go on forever, Aubrey, you can give a quick rundown on what it is and where you think it is. And then anyone who has any special knowledge about, oh yeah, I remember that was a one that we did, but we're not going to do anything with it, or that one's really close, or we know I've done more work on that than what you see there. They can chime in just so that we can get this list to be sort of up to date. And then from that, we can then pull out those bins afterwards, as opposed to having to make everyone by committee sort of have to figure that out.
Okay.
Does that sound like a good, can I get like a thumbs up or stuff from people around the line? That sounds good. I know Quentin's on the phone. I'm just going to assume he's giving a thumbs up. I was trying to goad him into unmuting, but never mind.
Always giving a thumbs up.
All right.
Okay,
Okay,
great. So that one could be tested. The adult guardian assistant, I think, was started by a student and then potentially abandoned for something else that they chose. It's very like early, just came out of the old wizard, so it could basically be a new form. I don't know if anybody has anything to say about this one.
Can we just assume that these colors are the buckets, David?
Yeah. We don't have to
Yeah.
reclassify.
Okay.
I was talking about the actionable buckets that will eventually put them in are probably not as fine grained.
Yeah, I think I'm just looking to say like which ones are priority versus not. Something that we really want someone to work on and push it over the line, something that's on this list that we want to move forward versus ones that we can wait on. So I won't go through the status of everything. Maybe I'll just say which ones they are. Is that fair? Okay,
Yeah,
so
that sounds good. Yeah.
okay. Statement
Yeah,
of
then
condition.
if you have any special knowledge about
Yeah.
them, please do chime in.
Statement of conditions. This one was also a student work. I don't know that anybody has anything to say, but it could be
I
helpful.
know we were
to
thinking
move
of
to a primary.
maybe putting that
Probably
in.
all of these
Yeah.
conditions related ones, I probably will work on for an outside project. So we could take them off the student list for that reason.
Okay, and I'm sorry, for what project was it?
For an outside project.
For this project
Okay.
I'm doing for KELP
Got it.
about housing conditions.
Okay,
So there's like a letter to your landlord. There's just a few of those kind of along the continuum of you're experiencing bad conditions.
Aubrey, why don't you label it as CELP, CE,
Yeah.
COVID Eviction Legal Help Project, CELHP. And that's a very specific outside project.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah.
Would that also be the repair demand letter, the repair deduct letter?
I'll have to make some choices. The reason this is a project that has the same kind of fiscal deadline. It has to be finished by June 30th. So it'll either be done by then or it won't.
Well, so one nice thing is that, some of those things are, maybe there's something, I mean, you know them all too, but maybe there's something in there that's helpful you can build on.
Yeah, for the most part, I think they could be combined and just have like a little bit of conditional logic.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The healthcare proxy was a student.
That one's really
Work.
close. We're mostly waiting on a legal matter with that one, actually, because it was a form created by an outside entity, and they wanted us to sign something before we could publish it.
And also technically there's I think the latest branch is not master. It's something called like final branch or something.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why
So
you're
you may have
probably
been
seeing
looking
it
at
with
it.
an
Yeah.
error.
Yeah. I was a little lazier with
That's fine.
Found-
This was a quick thing to get.
okay. I will update that. Military affidavit, couldn't find it. If anybody knows anything about it, I did not.
A military affidavit, I thought that I know that Jacqueline Sullivan has done a military affidavit and it's working as a DocAssembly, but I don't think it's live anywhere. I don't know if we want to redo it according to assembly line, but I have this feeling that somebody did a military affidavit in our group.
We use it as our boot camp form. So we have like 30 versions of it for that reason.
Okay. All right. So should we?
They were
So I
all
think we
very,
can-
very MVP.
Yeah, I think we can classify that as it just hasn't been done. It was just a.
Well, what I'm thinking is Jacqueline Sullivan did one that I think is pretty good. So I can try and find the YAML for that and bring it over somehow.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say it's top priority, but people use it all the time.
Okay. But it's not in ours, so we need to bring it in.
Right. Just
And
put
then somebody could update it.
Yeah. So if you put minus, yeah, exactly. I won't do it, but I'll try to find it. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think court activity record information and warrant, it looks really good. I noticed that it didn't have a few things and just like polishes, but it seemed like ready for testing and to be pushed over the line.
Okay, so a little like polishing. Okay.
Yeah, you know,
That one is
valid.
part of the name change petition, which is the main user for it now. Just so you know.
Okay. Is it so
That,
this is
that form
built
is
in?
live. This is, yeah, I think it could still be worth publishing it as a standalone form, but it's currently incorporated into the petition to change name of adults.
So that's
Okay.
probably like an orphaned card where someone had created a
Mhm.
card for the standalone form and not updated it when it was put into the name change, and probably still referencing to an old branch or repo.
Yeah, I will update the card.
Oh, that is, yeah, I think I did end up having to make a new repo for it, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But it still is a standalone package. So there should be one that's a standalone, and then it's included by reference into the name change. And we could totally make the standalone one worth publishing on its own. And it would need some work, because I don't think there's some things they're taking care of in the name change that aren't part of the carry that should be
Right.
Like the instruction and yeah.
Yeah, because I did see the name change one. I didn't realize this was part of it, but like things like it's not how we do like telephone number and stuff like that, which is I think exactly what Quentin was talking about. So I'll look for the card to at least connect them. Reinstatement of tenancy. This is one that I feel like has been floating around. It's testing, maybe some small touches, same thing. Anybody have comment? Great. Pre-trial memo, divorce. The branch that I pulled was a little bit out of order, but could be pushed over the edge pretty quickly and then moved into testing. Counterclaim for divorce is pretty fresh, but it's not in bad shape. It's just using a lot of placeholders and needs like a little shaping. I think like one of the advanced people could get it done in a few 2 days or so for testing. Motion to impound. This is one that I feel like has been for a long time. It's got review screens available that are messy, and I don't know if that's now updated. And medium level of effort edits. Some of the stuff doesn't work, so a little bit of work to be done there. Service by,
I
sorry?
think the motion to impound is incorporated into the 209A. Wait a minute, because there's a different type of impound. Yeah, right. Okay. So that may be something.
Yeah, I do feel like I remember this one being further ahead, but it might just be because it was built early last summer.
Well, yeah, and there are two types of motion to impound.
Got it.
So we just finished those pages on mass legal help. I wonder if I should go back and have a look at that, because it's very, very tricky. And I could look at it and then maybe work with a more advanced student on, or whoever, a more advanced coder on that one.
Okay. Service by alternate means diligent search is pretty close to needing just testing. It was built by a student last semester, but it seemed really good. Maybe just a few updates to be more consistent with the other, how we do little things, but it looked really great.
I can look at that one as well, because we've, that was, again, a sort of a complicated one, and it differs from court to court, what you do. And I'm not sure that distinction is in the interview.
Okay.
Different judges are different how they want to do it.
I know this is very unhelpful, but last summer we did one form that its most up-to-date branch is not the master branch.
Do you know which form it is?
No, that is why it's not helpful. But I think there's a list of like do we have a list? If we have a list of what forms were done last summer, I can look through all the repos and check the dates.
Oh,
I'm not sure we have
sorry.
I don't know, I was just gonna say, I'm not sure we have it filtered by start, but I guess you could look at the cards, but.
Yeah, okay. I might take a look at the cards.
It might be helpful to the
cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that might actually narrow it down. But All right, I'm
Okay.
sorry, Aubrey, you were saying?
No, I was gonna say that I have them all pulled in so I can go back and like look for ones that also might be further ahead. And it's also going to be something hopefully if we can, as people assign start to take these, they will come upon it themselves and really have
That's right.
a moment where they
Oh,
build
there's less
upon
work
it.
to do than
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it could be a great moment. If we don't find it, it could be a great moment for
Perfect.
somebody.
Let's just remember to tell them to check the branches and their dates.
Yes. And I'm very pro GitHub teaching early on in onboarding.
Yeah.
Um,
So this next one here, the motion to reconsider appeals,
yeah.
that one is we're waiting for feedback from the appeals court. But
Cool.
you're right, it is just about ready. It just the appeals court needs to say yes. So the difference there is that the appeals court forms, just like if there were any active trial court forms, it has to go through the appeals court first before we say yay. But that could mean that it could be ready for testing if we wanted to do, some side testing on it as well.
Yeah, like at the same time, so that when we get a yes, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Great. Motion dismiss for prematurely commenced. There's 2 cards, but it looks very good. Okay.
Yeah, so we should probably combine the cards and
Yes, so it's in the testing phase. It seems like development is done and just needed as long as nobody has no comment. It seems like the development part is done.
yeah, that
It's ready
one
for
was
testing.
the lab students did that, and that was I agree, that's at the point it is at now, just
Okay.
testing and move over the line.
Great. So these are 2 Quentin just called.
So Quentin, that's the repair demand letter and the deduct letter.
Great.
And answer to complaint for divorce. I think that is a student one. I think that the order could be updated, but otherwise it is, I think, ready for testing after you just made the order a little bit more clean.
Do you know if it's had an SME on it? Can you tell from the card if it's?
I can't. So I can add SME. A lot of the Actually, I should double check before I say that affirmatively. A lot of the cards do not have all of the checklists involved. I am guilty of this as a student myself, that I would just forget about my Trello card. Oh, it's not going to search for me.
I think that was one of my students from last fall, and I believe she talked with Kate fairly extensively.
That's what I'm remembering, but I wanted to make sure this was the one.
I think we removed the names from the cards when they
Yeah.
got orphans, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I will add that Kate is the SME, even though I know that she is going to be stepping out soon, but the next one is the pretrial memo for housing. Quentin, that's not one that you wanted, is it?
No,
Okay.
no, that would be a student could take it further probably.
Yeah, it has good bones, but is still on that like uphill, has a good amount of work, but it's got good bones.
I think it has high value since we're recommending that people take jury trials and then they have to prepare this memo.
Okay.
One of those things where it's like actually kind of hard to help someone do it, but the value is really high.
Okay, thank you. We'll assign that one early as possible. The attorney authorization for release, I think, is this a coding the law project?
Yeah, I think that I recognize that one.
I think it just,
That's the generic release.
yes, or it's in that group. This is specifically the attorney one. I think it just needs testing.
Yeah, they could just be tested. I'm not sure what the overall value is given our audience, but yeah.
Okay, I'll put as
It does what it does.
low priority. The interpreter notice, David, you and I were talking about this the other day. It seemed really nice, but I did get asking multiple questions, or the same
That
question
was
multiple times.
I wonder if so that was originally one of the issues. I wonder if you got the most recent
That's what I'm wondering.
branch,
Okay.
because they had been a persistent issue, and I think they had solved it. Now they had some GitHub issues, so they may have reverted to a previous unknowingly, but I think that probably should be fixed. So that's worth checking other branches.
Okay. And
One thought on that form is that I doubt that the actual form needs a lot of refinement, but the next step is probably to incorporate it into our other interviews.
Yeah.
And that is probably something that either Bryce or myself or Michelle, someone who's really experienced and would work on that part of that form. And then at that point, they would be really easily able to finish the polishing of stuff. Sorry, go ahead, Caroline.
I think I talked to Iris Coloma-Gaines about this a little bit, and I think in theory that would be true, but I'm not actually sure about the function of this. And there may be some conversations in Teams about it. I can't remember the conversation, but I remember her saying that they don't actually use this form, or you need an official, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something about the conversation that made me think that this form is actually not used.
Well, it's part of MAID's packet right now, and I know it was getting used in our eviction clinics at UDLS.
All right, then let's go ahead.
It doesn't mean that could be that courts don't accept it and we just they didn't tell us. They just ignored it.
It's something to do with
it's more like a flag to the judge or to the clerk.
Yeah.
That's what we've really
definitely a non-standard.
Okay.
Yeah, but
right.
hopefully helpful.
Okay, so on this one, I'll double check the branches and make sure it's not asking the multiple questions. And if it is good to go, then I'm going to leave it for the dev team to incorporate. That's the next step for it.
Y'all, I'm sorry that I have to jump off soon. It's Lisa.
That's
I didn't want
fine.
to interrupt your flow. And I have a little chat message too, but do you all need any input or info from me before I do that? Where I could help y'all? I checked Teams too, and I appreciate the feedback from Bryce and from Michelle.
I think we're good. We're just trying to get out hold of here. Unfortunately, it's you were drafted into a larger meeting than so you don't feel
no,
bad.
It's actually very useful to see. I didn't mean to say no, I meant not at all. It's very useful to see how y'all are structuring these things, because every place is struggling with the same issues about what to create and where it's at. But this is all part of the process. We're going to be traveling for a bit, but I'll be back in town next, I'm back at my office chair next week. So I'll look forward to chatting with you guys then. But I didn't want to interrupt your flow too long because you're all making great headway.
No worries.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Thanks, Lisa. It's nice to meet you.
Bye-bye. Nice to meet you, Aubrey, and everyone else.
Lisa.
That forced me to realize that Matt had signed in here. So Matt, we're running long on a management meeting into Teaching Tuesday. So hopefully you don't mind us too much.
No, go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, Matt. So a CDC motion to dismiss, that's live. Just needs to update the form or the card, excuse me. The Form 9 repair letter, I'm missing the template. So if anybody knows about that one, I couldn't get a location on
I'll take that one too, Aubrey. So that'll be part of the CALP project.
Okay.
And I probably won't use that letter anyway. I'll probably make a new one from scratch.
Great, thank you. Form 12 rent withholding letter. Is that the other one that you were
Same.
Okay.
That could stick with that too.
Okay.
And it could pop out, but I would say no one should start working on it until after June 30th.
Okay.
If I wasn't able to finish it by then. Basically.
Okay, great. And I think one more for you, Quentin, the sample rent letter.
That one, I think, is just saying what you want your rent to be. This is the one for a tenant after foreclosure. Am I right? That one I probably will not adopt as part of.
Okay. Well, that one looked good.
Is it like, does that sound right? That it was like, hey, you're my new landlord. Here's the rent that I want to pay.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Let me pull it.
Okay.
Because I literally ran through every one of these. Let's see.
I would just like to point out that Aubrey ran through nearly 40 forms in
That's
on her
incredible.
first day.
I was just thinking that's insane.
That's totally nuts.
And she
Sorry.
actually pulled all the packages and ran through them. So this is a
Wow.
big effort.
Gargantuan.
This
Yeah.
is, Michelle, this is not to throw you under the bus in any way, but I was laughing because every time you go through your managed projects, you have such a list. And I was like, I finally look like Michelle. Because you always say, like, I've got so many, I won't let anything go. I think, I'm not really sure what this is asking.
New owner.
Okay, so Quentin, to answer your question, it's a new owner of apartment. And that they...
Yeah, I think that one probably doesn't make sense to be part of the conditions.
Okay.
Part.
Thank you. So I'll leave it for testing. Permission to access a DTA client. I think, Caroline, this is the one that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And did you have any comment on it, or just this is what you've looked at?
I think, of course, the benefits people are saying that you don't need this anymore. Oh, wait, is this the permission? I'm trying to think if this is
That's the one Sarah's working on.
Okay, right, yeah. Yeah.
So she's going to volunteer this summer still.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll just leave it with her, yeah.
Okay,
I think
great.
we're looking for an SME for her to review that because our SMEs are saying they don't really use the form, you just call DTA.
Okay, and we'll let her continue to work through that with them then.
Yeah.
See it through. Awesome. Request grievance hearing looked really good. Ready for testing.
Is that public housing?
Maybe.
Yeah. I think I don't think it's not DCF yet. So that's a fair hearing, not a grievance hearing.
I do remember a student working on a housing one.
Yeah, this is a housing one. And
So
I'm sorry.
This wouldn't be part of CALP. This would be its own.
Okay, so we'll keep it.
Correct. Yeah, the grievance would probably be for an eviction related reason. It's the most common. But they could read something else. That's the most common.
Okay, great. The voluntary administration of estate, I think this was a student project, but it looked really good. Just some small finishing. I don't know if it's been through a SME, but otherwise could go to testing.
I think there was a private lawyer who did review on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah, was that the one that my friend Kelly reviewed?
Oh,
yeah.
I think maybe, yeah.
Oh, that could be what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what it needs. It's had its review. Presumably, those are in issues.
Okay. Yeah. The only reason I said it, I didn't know if it needed a SME. I called it on this one because it was complicated. Like as I was going through, I was like, oh, this is difficult for like me if I was trying to understand how to fix this one. And it needed significant changes. So that's why I called out that it might need a SME. So that's great.
So I think it's okay. Whoever works on it might want to get back in touch with them if you're not, I don't know what state it's in, but they might want, once the changes or edits, whatever's made, it might make sense to run it by her one more time.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, what was Kelly's last name you said?
I think it's Stringer.
We don't have to do it on the video. You can
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
share it in the team.
Thank you. The next is the 209A motion to modify. It looked like that's actively being worked on.
It's done in the spreadsheet, and yeah, like I don't know anything else to do with it. If it's not live, I'm not sure what if it just didn't get there.
Does it need to be tested, Michelle?
It's been tested.
Oh, so it should go live then, right?
well, I don't know if it is live, but
Oh,
from what I understood, it was ready to go live.
okay.
Okay.
Does anybody know if it's live?
I don't think it's live. Trying to see where it would be. Doesn't look like
That's it.
There it is.
Request to
Plaintiff's
change or
request to
end.
change.
There it is at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Then it is
great.
It
live.
might want to
Great.
be underneath the top one. I'm not sure. The one that is the abuse prevention order. Maybe I should change its title.
Okay, I will leave that for you to do.
Yeah. And
petition-
I would like to
sorry.
understand from David and Quentin. I don't know. Right. So maybe later we can discuss that.
Yeah,
But
we can.
carry
That can be a
on.
little Teams discussion. Yep.
Okay. Petition to enforce sanitary code. This is the one we were just talking about.
So Quinn is just gonna. It's probably ready to go live. Just maybe looking at the wrong branch, or well, it sounded like Quentin knew exactly what the error, or had a good idea of what the error was. It
I'll
probably was
share.
because it was the wrong
That point
branch.
was fixed at one point, so we just have to
Or
see if it goes on the right branch.
Oh, you've transferred. Great.
for the one above, could you just say that it's live instead of done to just clarify that what kind
Yeah,
of done
isn't
it
the
is?
color coding? The color coding might mean live. The blue. Oh no,
think
not pushed over the
blue
line.
was-
No, it's sorry, wrong.
Yeah,
Not pushed over the
yeah.
line, but done.
No notice to quit.
Notice to quit has just 2 cards, one in dev, one in testing. So if anybody knows,
That's
anything about
no,
this one.
that's no notice to quit, right? That's an
Sorry, yes.
eviction form.
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
I feel like that was
It was Tracy's project.
Tracy's, right? Yeah. So I think it's
Oh, so I'm sorry, is
Yeah.
Tracy was Tracy a student?
yeah. Tracy was a student. Was
Okay.
in the lab, and she had 3 forms, 2 of which were really close, and one of them was not quite as close. I don't know which of those families this one was.
Okay. I think that it could use some of the small fixes, which is why I didn't put it in green
Okay,
before
so maybe
testing.
it was the 3rd one that was
Yeah.
not as close as the other 2.
Yeah. Also, I want to clarify. I say that it's student not because the students don't do incredible work. I say student because I think of them as being projects they only had a certain amount of time, and they kind of you just get kind
Yes.
of cut off. Sorry, I feel like I should make that
Yes.
clarification that I'm not saying it's student work to distinguish it in other way. It's timing.
No, and that is rightfully so why many of these forms are stuck in the state they are, is because
Yeah.
there was this limited amount of time. And so this is a really great exercise. And we've been talking for months about needing to do exactly what you did in a day, which is sort of figure out where everything was. And so yeah, continue, please.
Okay. The change name petition is live. I just need to fix that card unless anybody has anything to say about that one. Is it okay? Petition to seal.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Aubrey, that's for an adult, or that's the adult one, right? I think there are 2 name change petitions.
I don't think anyone started the juvenile one.
Right, but
Yeah.
maybe we just want to indicate that on the list that it's the adult name change because they are 2 different ones.
And is the juvenile one something that should eventually get started? Because we can
I
add
can't
that to the
remember.
list.
Be a good project for a student. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll use a lot of the same logic, just a different form, I think.
I think they need more resources or something as well. They might need an affidavit of care or something like that as well.
Okay, so
Hmm.
maybe
It's a more complicated interview, yeah.
okay, later in the summer for somebody with experience. Great. So sorry, petition to seal. I didn't find anything, so I have no knowledge if anybody does.
Is
That's
this petition
Michelle.
to seal a criminal record?
That's got to be it, yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry. This is
The GBLS one that you've done,
this
right?
is the GBLS one. I'm I can put this in my own board. I should have put this in my own board, but I'm using the checklist and it's turning out to be incredibly useful. And I've already made discoveries that in a year I have not made. just because of that checklist. So, wow.
So this is the
Good
point
job,
is,
team.
Aubrey,
Fantastic.
Good job, team.
it's an
Yes.
echo card, right? So it's a card for something that's outside of this project. It's another project.
That is
Right.
good to know. That's it. I have no problem with it living with us. I will not touch
It doesn't have to. Yeah, I didn't realize there was going to be an audit, but like,
Yeah, you're caught. You've been caught.
Michelle,
been
put
caught.
Michelle
Use
in
our
there.
Trello board without, yeah.
But I think
Um,
you do want to put Michelle in there because if any questions come up, Michelle's the go-to person on this.
and
interview.
let me
Okay.
know if I should move it out of there for sure. I can move it to my own board. I just didn't want to duplicate the boards and everything, but it doesn't matter. I can do that.
I think if it's just one card, we can account for it. We just make a little note.
Well,
Okay, I can make a note at the top.
Also, to hop back a few, I think the notice to quit, I think actually has a newer version that I don't think Tracy ever transferred to us. At least it's still on her repo.
okay.
Mm.
And I just added the link to the Trello card, so it will be there. But yeah.
Okay. So maybe we could pull that one then.
Great. Thank you. Okay. The child support answer, I did not find a GitHub at this one, so I haven't been able to look at it. Does anybody know about it?
That was the one a student started and it was a bit overambitious. So
Okay.
we have,
Right. They were there for just like a week.
yeah. So we have it on a different platform and we'd like to convert it. So if it's a big project, so if somebody would like to work on it this summer, but it's not a quickie, and it's not hard, but it's just long.
Yeah. Okay, that's a special project. Fun. Mass rental voucher. I built this. I built it semi-wrong and in a 2-month period, not even. I worked on it in 2 weeks. It needs just a lot of reworking and some big updates, and so it could be a great later in the summer project for somebody who wants to rework it, maybe for me. The request to choose someone to be authorized rep. I don't have a GitHub.
That's the DTA form. That I was
Oh,
talking
okay.
about. You've got that other DTA form up there. That's it.
This is Sarah's.
I think this is the one Sarah's working on. The request to choose someone to be authorized rep. I'm not sure, but
So then
She
what's the
has
other
code.
one?
I too wasn't able to find a GitHub repo for that, but she does have the code somewhere.
Okay, so
Wait, so do we think there are two versions of these forms and one of them
They're
Sarah's
two
working on, the
different
other one Sarah
forms.
isn't?
they're two
Right.
different forms. I
So
think.
but Sarah's only working on one of them, right? So
Right.
like we have to figure out which one
Yeah,
of those two
and
it is.
that's
it's not this one.
that's the someone to be an authorized rep. I'm almost
Okay.
certain it's the authorized rep. Yeah,
So not this one.
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. This one, and I can see actually who it's assigned to, just to go back, but it was very ready, just a small few things. So
Who
and
does
if
it say? TM
it's a student. Oh, let me-
Trevor.
yeah. Right, that was a student from last year.
Yeah,
Was that the student that started the child dance support?
I believe
answer?
so.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So not Sarah,
Not Sarah.
but it looked great to go back to the permission to access. Looked
Yeah.
great. Somebody could just do those last few fixes, and we'll reach out. Sarah's coming back. We said
Mhm.
Yes.
great, so she'll keep on working this, and we'll just make sure that it becomes part of ours. Complaint to establish paternity. No GitHub. There's a Weaver HTML uploaded, but it's not like it brings me to a website. I can't get much
Hmm.
out of it. I don't know if anybody knows about this one.
That was a student project where they didn't manage to finish getting it through the Weaver. So that's
Okay.
what you see is what there was done on it.
Okay,
So it looks like you got the status right.
great. And they used Trello, which is great. Motion to vacate housing. I feel like that one's been around for a long time. And it's partially tested, and then there was a lot of feedback that I think needed to be implemented, and I didn't see that was implemented, so could be kind of a pick up and carry across the line if we're ready for it. Take that as no comments. Consumer debt, also semi-tested. Not all of the situations have been run through. Situations is not
Oh,
the right word.
these two are the ones that
Mike did
Mike.
these last
Yeah.
summer. Yeah.
So is he done now? Is he
He's-
gonna?
He brought them over
Pretty
as
good
he
bar,
did some additional work on them, but yeah, I think he's done. He's off into the work world.
He's a
Okay, so
graduate.
these need to be finished up then, right, by somebody.
Yeah.
And he found gainful
Pretty
employment.
close.
So
Yeah,
Okay,
they should
Um,
definitely be nice if they could go live. For sure.
okay,
So we-
great. So
yeah.
these are
what did you say, Quentin? You can make them go live
It would be
yet?
really great if they could get finished up, but yeah,
Yeah,
because he worked on them really hard and
Right.
Yeah.
and everything. But I think
And
there
we have-
were still a few changes, like some
and-
placeholder language that was.
and we have two SMEs that are very interested in getting them up as well.
awesome. Yeah, I think that also these were when we were doing like really rigorous testing. Not that it's not all the feedback's not helpful and needs to be implemented, but I think that it might have passed what we
Mhm.
consider MVP later in our learning process.
Yeah.
Just looking at some of the stuff that we were talking about. So we'll fix it right up. And
Mhm.
that
and
was
yes, the last one is live.
yeah, sorry.
So I just have
Live.
to say something about this because I just had a conversation with this morning with a ed law attorney, special ed law attorney, and somebody at CPCS, and they feel quite strongly they don't think parents should file this motion to dismiss on their own. They really ought to. So what I'm thinking is leave it up there because we're not linking to it right now. But we might want to update the interview so that we tell parents in the beginning that they should get their own attorney. We need a little bit more info in the beginning of the interview so that they know that they can work with their child's advocate, get an advocate for themselves, or if they were the
And they're-
petitioner, they have the
Right,
first
and they're-
180 days.
They're guaranteed an attorney in a CRA case,
Only,
right?
only if there's a threat of losing custody of their kid. And they need to know that in order to ask for an attorney. So, and there are two types of so there's a parent who's a petitioner, and then there is a parent, maybe the other parent applied. So if you're the other parent, then, it's a little bit complicated. So I think we need more
there's some
information in
language,
the interview.
some,
Yeah.
So throw a priority language addition on
Right.
top of that.
Yeah.
Cool. So that
Okay.
really that was, I didn't quite catch the count, 39 forms.
38 forms.
38 forms. So well done there. Like I said,
Well
we've been
done.
talking about doing
Absolutely.
this for months to figure out where everything were, and you just, in a day. So thank you.
Yeah.
So looking at that, it seems like maybe we could find 4 forms that were so not done that they'd be worthy starting over again for people. And we definitely have more than 2 forms that, or more than 4, because we probably could have folks with experience take them one at a time that haven't been doing on teams. So that probably gives us stuff to keep busy for initial assignments. So we can mine that for initial assignments for forms. The last thing I want to touch before we hopefully don't burn up all the Teaching Tuesday time is, well, 2 things. One, which is like the grab bag ideas, and if we can start compiling those together. So people who have more than 7 hours a week that they're going to devote to this, and we'll need something more than just getting up to speed or whatnot. We'll have things that we can give them. And then 2 is just to talk about what next week will look like and how it would impact these meetings, since we'll be having the touch points during this time. Maybe we should do the second one first.
Sure.
So thoughts, is everyone cool with basically us taking over these meeting times next week? The thought that was that Friday's takeover would mostly just be like ask questions. So it would seem a little bit like Teaching Tuesday, but on Friday. But I would love to also use that time to do a little casual if we have casual Fridays, work that in there as well. And we could probably pause to do, that means we could make Friday also still have the stand up. But on Tuesday, what it likely means is we sort of miss the management meeting, and we miss sort of traditional stand up, because we'll be doing probably the Hello World exercise. And then that would sort of overlap with some of the Teaching Tuesday time. So it's sort of more like a return to the traditional Teaching Tuesday as a time that, people are sort of learning stuff, but it will sort of step on the toes of the previously scheduled timing.
I thought we were thinking of doing watch parties for the Hello World stuff, and then
We thought about doing watch
sessions.
parties for some of the other video stuff. So Aubrey and I were talking about ordering, and we can talk about this now if we want, which was that we were thinking it would be nice to sort of start off with, especially for the people who are coming without any background, to just sort of say, here's a video, work through this as your sort of first entrance to things is a bit much. And that there would be so we were going to give them a video on the overview of the project and the walkthrough of the 209A to watch prior to our first synchronous meeting. And in the first synchronous meeting, we were going to then have a round of introductions, get everyone to sort of know each other. And then we do a Hello World so that everyone could get that first rush of like, ooh, I can get the computer to do something exciting. Then we would leave that with like, and here are some more videos to do. Go make sure you have these accounts set up, blah, blah, blah. The next day we'd come back on Wednesday. We'd do a little exercise that Aubrey and I have been thinking about, which is basically like, there'll be a bare bone package. We'll have everyone pull the package in, then make edits to the package by adding questions. We're going to do this. Somehow we're going to think of funny things to do. I don't know, like ask questions you want everyone to answer or something. And then we'll have people use GitHub to then push those changes back to branches and then make pull requests. That way we actually start with the thing that is always the difficulty for everyone, which is, GitHub and using it and managing stuff. And then what was our thing after that? Then we were gonna do that. Then we were gonna maybe do something with the Weaver. And then
it was
run
Baker
something through the
Fun
Weaver.
form on the Weaver short, because we're
so
not
one of
gonna
the
have
things
too much.
prior we would have done is have them look at the naming stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go through the Weaver, but not go through it all. Very much like what we did in the, we have them watch the video in the boot camp probably for the naming stuff. And then Thursday, we wanted to do something with testing to give everyone a sense of testing. And then Friday, we wanted to just have people together to be able to ask questions. And then there'd be a lot of asynchronous stuff that we help structure people as well. That was the general shape of things. How does that sound we wanted to get people's feedback on the shape of that. How does that sound?
I like that general order of operations. If it would help to have someone do it outside of the management, the Tactical Tuesday stuff, I have time other days outside of it, so that I'm just a bit concerned of what's going to be happening. I know people have limited time, that's all. So if that's the only way to have.
Yeah, so most of the people, luckily, most of the people who are the summer volunteers, this is their summer time, so they'll be able to have that synchronous time. We're going to drop back down the week after this. We'll drop back down to our normal touch points and our normal meeting structure. At which point then Teaching Tuesday will be, a wonderful place where there'll be lots of questions, I'm sure. And then we'll do, asynchronous stuff, and people can jump on things as they need to throughout teams. And
I thought you were saying that. Okay. Well, all right. If we want to keep
that's not next
Tactical
week, that's the
Tuesday,
following week.
if you want to keep Tactical Tuesday, I'm just saying, like, I might have time to do it at a separate time.
Oh, do Tactical Tuesday at a separate time. Okay.
No, because like if we can all still do Tactical Tuesday, if this is the time where we can all meet to do management stuff.
Yeah, I think that we're probably
gonna do the other stuff with the students on a different day.
Yeah, and I think we're going to want to do the stuff with the students at this time, primarily because we have time zone constraints. So we have some volunteers in California and some volunteers in Ireland. So midday is the time that we can actually get folks to meet. So I think we can probably get by without
I could do it on midday Monday.
Yeah, it's a holiday, so no one at the university will be working.
Jesus. Okay, never mind.
What about
I would
David, what
I
about
would be
just
working.
what about doing a different
Mhm.
Zoom for that with the students? Because I think just thinking about like what we have going on with the 209A and the deadlines there, it might be good to keep that touch point for the rest
You
of
wanna
it.
keep that
Doesn't
touch
sound
point
like
'cause we
everyone
have
has
a
to be
209A.
on our Tactical Tuesday next week. So you could take over the students and then
Yeah, no,
use
we
a
wouldn't use the same
smaller
Zoom.
group.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Keep our Tactical Tuesday at this time for just
Yeah, that'd be
'cause
fine. So you could run the Tactical
Yeah.
Tuesday, continue on this Zoom. We'll
just that we'll have
have
it
a separate
reserved.
Zoom.
That
Yeah.
just thinking about any communication we should do with Caroline, and then if Kate, I don't know when her leave starts, but if she was available for any touch points then too. You know, Caroline,
Unless she's ill. I think
It's
she
not,
said she was
so-
going to try and work up to the bitter end.
which is like late summer, right?
I thought it was
Yeah, I think so.
September, but maybe, who knows, babies do what they want.
I was feeling like August or something, but I don't know. Now we're all just
That's
guessing.
what I had in
August,
mind.
September, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Um,
maybe right now, just because there seems to actually be a lot more load on Tactical Tuesday than we thought there would be. Going back to the 12 o'clock time, I realized we just switched to 12:30, and I don't know exactly what the like constraint is there, but like it seems like we actually do have a lot to handle on Tactical Tuesday.
Well, so one of the things that would normally be handled there, which would be the onboarding and the new students will entirely be off because we'll be off with them then. So it really seems like the 209A and whatever other things are coming along. I don't know, Quentin, since you'll be running that meeting, what were your thoughts?
Just that, I just wanted to make sure we reserve some time for that since we had June 15th as a deadline.
Right.
If
Do you
we
want
got
it? But
it
I think
right
the
now.
question is, do you want to make it a 12 or a 12:30?
Or did you want to have it outside of this? I thought you wanted it separate. You want to?
Do we
He's saying
need
keep
an
the Tactical
hour?
Tuesday time.
I'm actually not sure what we'll talk about there yet, but I do maybe just even separating out any student questions will be enough to mean it doesn't need an hour. I think we just thought we wanted to do it for this week, basically. Before students started, we really thought we haven't been using an hour of a Tactical Tuesday plus stand-up. But this week we did, and it's because we have some new folks starting with new stuff.
Yeah.
So we probably will need it again going forward. I don't know if we quite need it next week when it's just going to be a just in case meeting, because we won't have like a whole form review, right? That will have that stuff will be more addressed with the student onboarding. I don't know. I suspect we won't need an hour next week. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean,
think
it could just stop
12:30
early. All right.
We could just
Go
stop
ahead.
early if no one's counting to come on for stand-up.
That's true, because there aren't the same constraints of expectations of people coming on for other things.
But if we're still doing Teaching Tuesday at 1, then, which we probably should, because poor Matt's been waiting here without being able to ask any questions.
Poor Matt.
But there could be other ways to accommodate that too, if we could just check in with Matt. And
so why don't we do this then? Then we'll do parallel programming next week, which will be, I'll leave it to Quentin to decide whether or not you want to start at 12 or 12:30, keeping the same normal links for the Tuesday meeting. But then we'll also have what I think we'll have started at 12. We will have, or maybe we'll start at 12:30 so that we don't, so people can have a lunch. But there'll be a parallel meeting overlapping. That will be the onboarding meeting for the students. And
given that, why don't we just start at 12? That way, David, you could join the 12 if you want to. And we might still have a gap between the end of Management and Teaching Tuesday, but that's okay.
Well, there would be a
We'll just
gap.
intentionally merge it with whatever stand-up people need to do. That's all. So that will at least avoid that extra gap that we sometimes
Well,
have.
so I could come on at 12, but then I'd hop off at 12:30, and then you'd have to
I think
fill
we'd
in
be
the
up
time
to
to
that.
1.
I bet we'd be finished if we combine the two, but I think it'd be good to keep it just because we have outside stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to be in the car next Tuesday, so I don't.
Okay. Then it may not matter. In that case,
probably no signal. So.
Okay, we're going to move the management meetings back to 12 o'clock on Tuesday in perpetuity, starting next week, with the understanding that I will jump off after the management meeting and that other people will stay on for what traditionally would be stand up and Teaching Tuesday. And there will be parallel programming for the new students who will then join back with us on Friday, because on Friday we will want the stand up to be part of what they're experiencing. And then we'll move into hopefully some casual stuff as well.
One more timing thing. Should we give an hour if we're going to have 12 students doing stand up for the very first time on?
Yeah,
Friday?
I think we probably should, which I think means that casual Friday just starts at
A little earlier.
1:30.
Oh,
We
okay.
don't
You
want to start.
You don't want to start stand up early.
So I don't want to, if we,
Friday later.
there are certain people I don't mind asking to move their lunch, but if we're expecting that people are going to do that, and then I'm just worried about something that would then be a 2-hour commitment without lunch. Right, so you would have had to have a lunch at 11:30. I mean, I know we do that every Tuesday, but I've got, a sandwich down here, part to eat.
Or we could just break them in early to eating on camera, like we did last summer.
We'll work out the details, but I think I understand people's constraints.
I guess we have a week.
The main thing is,
anyway. But.
Yeah, well, we want to get an email out to folks in a day or two, giving them the schedule for next week. So, but the general idea is that normal stand-up and stuff will be either the same schedule or a slightly well, it's going to be different than this week because we'll move back to the old schedule for Tuesday. And then Friday, we may either move forward or back the stand-up because that will expand. And the other days they'll parallel to the Tuesday, there will be new student stuff. Friday, everyone will be coming together. Wednesday and Thursday, there will be independent new cohort stuff going on, which everyone is invited to. Yeah, that being said, Matt, do you have 5 minutes of 10 minutes of questions you want to ask? Well, actually, before I do that, was that only one of the two things I wanted to say? What was the second thing I said I wanted us to do?
Oh.
Caroline, you're muted.
I think it was identifying forms, the grab bag. It was a grab bag for the
grab
7
bag.
hour plus.
Grab bag. Yeah. So the things I have are the court locations, names on the interviews for credit, the audit, which Aubrey did, and then testing as a general sort of task people can jump into.
What about the mapping the court?
Well, I don't know about the mapping. I mean, the thing you had asked for before, yeah, that's sort of an independent side project. That's right. That might be a good one. That's not a right away though one because people would have
not a right away, but just if you're looking for stuff.
But it is a discrete project.
Since I get emailed by this lawyer every month.
How about language adjustments for the assembly line questions, the default questions, like removing please from the signature question?
Oh, like a pass of all basic questions.
Very specific one, Michelle, and Caroline said it was an exception to the rule about please.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Is it an exception?
But I don't think students should be involved in doing language
edits on
existing questions. But it could be a language audit checklist for other existing forms. Could be a good project, like for one of the forms that aren't live yet.
Sure.
Another thing is adding. It didn't get on this list, but I know we mentioned it before. Is adding attribution to the existing forms.
Yeah, that was on my list of names for interviews. That was what I was calling that.
This week, okay.
Yeah, for
more involved, but still a good checklisty kind of thing where if someone had 7 hours a week and were trained to do it, they could make progress every week. Would be to migrate forms to the assembly line repo from the MA virtual court repo. It would require more training. It's not quite a beginner thing yet. But if they had gotten training on how to do it on one form, they could probably then do all of the forms. They would have to have like a 7 hour sit down maybe the first one. Not 7 hours.
And they could Sorry, and I was gonna say they could also help make standard work on how to do it, or I can help them make standard work.
And Michelle started documenting that already. So you were already thinking of turning it into a checklist, right, Michelle? But I think probably someone would still want hands-on training the first time we did it.
For the converting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this was not like high priority for us, but if we just had one repo that everything was using, it would really be better. And it could work really well with someone who just has 7 hours a week to volunteer and wants a steady project they can feel like they work on meaningfully every week.
That might be a good one for our, we share a federal work study student with one of the other clinics, and it's just because their director is going to go away on vacation for 2 weeks. So that might be a good one to give them.
Wasn't there
I think we
something
figured
you
out
could
is
do at
once
the
you learn how to
business
do it,
school?
it's like about an hour per form. So sorry, go ahead.
Wasn't there
Matt,
something
I can
Okay.
stay behind for a little while if you want. I can stay a little after.
Poor bait and switch on you here.
No, thanks. That's okay. Actually, I have a meeting at 1 o'clock my time, which is next, but
Okay.
I haven't been sitting idle. I've been doing work and learning from your conversation. So
Matt, it
thanks.
does seem like you're sitting there has made sure that you now probably have a Teaching Tuesday almost to yourself next week. So you
Right,
best
you
use that.
earned it.
Great. Good to know. Good to know.
Did you have, why don't you just throw out the questions that you have, just so we know?
Well, wait, I want to make sure that we had
Oh.
did we get everything we wanted for ideas?
I had this other question about we were going to liaise with the business school at Suffolk for something, and I can't remember what it was.
Oh, we were just thinking about things to help like make Aubrey's new position more sustainable throughout the year. So people with project management experience. Although, it's one of those situations where it's, you can't replace someone like Aubrey. So you'd actually have to make it like 3 positions. So, but the idea was, could we spread that load? All right. Okay, now I will stop the recording for the management/stand-up meeting. And I don't think we'll